Hello again, everyone. It's time for Chapter 3 of the BFG. The Snatch. Under the blanket, Sophie waited. After a minute or so, she lifted a corner of the blanket and peeped out. For the second time that night, her blood froze to ice and she wanted to scream, but no sound came out. There at the window, with the curtains pushed aside, was the enormous, long, pale, wrinkly face of the giant person staring in. The flashing black eyes were fixed on Sophie's bed. The next moment, a huge hand with pale fingers came snaking in through the window. This was followed by an arm as thick as a tree trunk, and the hand, the fingers were reaching out across the room toward Sophie's bed. This time, Sophie really did scream, but only for a second, because very quickly the huge hand clamped down over her blanket and the scream was smothered by the bedclothes. Sophie, crouching underneath the blanket, felt strong fingers grasping hold of her, and then she was lifted up from her bed, blanket and all, and whisked out of the window. If you can think of anything more terrifying than that happening to you in the middle of the night, then let's hear about it. The awful thing was that Sophie knew exactly what was going on, although she couldn't see it happening. She knew that a monster, or a giant, with an enormous, long, pale, wrinkly face and dangerous eyes had plucked her from her bed in the middle of the witching hour and was now carrying her through the window, smothered in a blanket. What actually happened next was this. When the giant had got Sophie outside, he arranged the blanket so that he could grasp all four corners of it at once in one of his huge hands, with Sophie imprisoned inside. In the other hand, he seized the suitcase and the long trumpet thing, and off he ran. Sophie, by squirming around inside the blanket, managed to push the top of her head out through a little gap just below the giant's hand. She stared around her. She saw the village houses rushing by on both sides. The giant was sprinting down the high street. He was running so fast, his black cloak was streaming out behind him like the wings of a bird. Each stride he took was as long as a tennis court. Out of the village he ran, and soon they were racing across the moonlit fields. The hedges dividing the fields were no problem to the giant. He simply strode over them. A wide river appeared in his path. He crossed it in one flying stride. Sophie crouched in the blanket, peering out. She was being bumped against the giant's leg like a sack of potatoes. Over the fields and hedges and rivers they went, and after a while a frightening thought came into Sophie's head. "The giant is running fast," she told herself, "because he is hungry, and he wants to get home as quickly as possible. And then he'll have me for breakfast." It's the end of Chapter 3. I do want to show you this illustration. This is where the giant is running across the fields with his cloak flying out behind him like the wings of a bird. And in that little bundle right there, if you can see, that is what Sophie is in. There's his long trumpet thing. Did you have a picture of that in your head? And then, of course, his suitcase. Let's take a look at a couple of our quick thought question. Our quick thought question this time is, do you think the giant will eat Sophie? She's afraid he might. Do you think he will? Why or why not? Why would he eat her? If you think he will, why? Why do you think that? But if you don't think he's going to eat her, well, why not? Why would he not eat her? Think about that. We have two vocabulary words. The first word is sprinting. He went sprinting out across the field. Sprinting. So what would it mean to be sprinting? Let me read you a little bit and see if you can use the context clues to help you determine what this word means. She saw the village houses rushing by on both sides. The giant was sprinting down the high street. He was running so fast his black cloak was streaming out behind him like the wings of a bird. Sprinting. If you said something about running very quickly, you are correct. Run at full speed over a short distance. Sometimes runners will do a sprint, like in the Olympics or for different athletic competitions. Let's take a look at this word again. What do you notice on the end of this word? We have a suffix on the end of this word, the suffix ing. So our base word, what we start off with, would be the word sprint, a quick run. Our other vocabulary word is the word stride. Stride. The text said, a wide river appeared in his path. He crossed it in one flying stride. So I wonder how he would cross the river. Now remember, he's very tall. So he probably has very long legs. How would he cross that? Would it be a jump? A stride is a long, decisive step. He just takes one very long step, and there he goes. Stride. So our two vocabulary words for this chapter are sprinting and stride. And your quick thought question for this chapter is, do you think the giant will eat Sophie? Why or why not? I'll see you back again tomorrow for chapter 4.